So you are having a problem because you just can't get on the same page with how to style your home with your spouse or your roommate or whoever you live with. Well, that is a very common problem. In fact, it's probably the #1 challenge most of the couples we've ever worked with have had. So we have a lot of ideas and how to resolve that, or at least work through it so that your only option isn't divorce. Make sure you like and subscribe. You always hear how opposites attract. Well, that can also cause a lot of fights when it comes to design. We were very fortunate because Zooey and I have very similar tastes in the aesthetic of what we like. The challenge I found was with us, I make decisions very quickly. She takes a lot of time to make sure that something is the right decision. Well, in a renovation, if you've ever done one, you probably know you don't always have the luxury of time. You need to figure out how you can keep things moving forward. Otherwise, your construction and design teams will start charging you more money too. On the design side though, the first step we always say is, let's sit back before we start talking about specifics in each room and whatnot. Let's talk about the must-haves and the things that you can live without. So is there a family heirloom or a collectible or a gift that you gave each other that's an absolute must and you want to make sure that it's showcased? Well, put it on the must-have list. The other stuff that's like, well, we have it, but it's we could probably do without it. Move it over on the other list, and that way already you know, okay, well, here's where we draw the line in the sand. Here's the stuff that's, maybe not as important. The other thing to think about is who uses a specific space more. In our house, Zooey is the cook. She is amazing and runs that kitchen, so she should have the final say in what we do in that space because it really is her domain. If it's my office, Zooey doesn't really have much say nor care what I do in my office, so I would have the final say in there. But what about the bedroom? You're both sharing this bedroom. Who gets the final say? Well, this is where some of the problems can arise. So I usually recommend finding some common ground. Is there a neutral palette that you both like, and then maybe one person can have their bold color choice in an accent pillow or something like that. And maybe the other person can have their color choice in drapery or something else. Find ways that you can get a common neutral and then add the individual elements on top of that. Also, really think about what the win is in these situations. Sometimes people just want to have their way because they want to have their way, but if you look at magazines and you see something that you really both like, and maybe it wasn't either of your preference initially, well, understand that tastes can change and needs can change. So don't feel so locked in on something that you have to have, because in 5 years, you might have a different opinion anyway. And try and be gentle. You don't have to attack somebody and say, that's a terrible idea, I think it looks terrible, I hate it. Well, nobody would want to hear that, and that's gonna be really upsetting. So try and think of how to let somebody down easy. If there's something that you know they want, but you really, really don't want it, have an opportunity to talk about those things together. A prime example would be in our house, Zooey did not want to have any recessed lights at all. She did not want recessed lights. She does not like recessed lights. Her father's a cinematographer, so lighting is very important to the whole family. I understand that because recessed lighting is more task-like. It's for function. It's not there for aesthetic. And so I need it because I like to have well-lit rooms so I can see what I'm doing, particularly if I'm fixing something or working on something. I'm not putting in recessed lights because I'm like, wow, this is a beautiful thing that I have to have. Do I get the occasional side comment every now and then? Oh, there's the recessed light. Yes, I do, but I'm okay with that. Sometimes there'll be a furniture piece that your spouse loves and you detest, or a piece of art or something like that. I remember my dad had this chair, his dad chair, and it was so ugly. And my mom, she didn't want it, but he loved this chair so much. So we ended up having a slipcover made for it, and that was a nice way to make it look more elegant, but he still got his chair. When Zooey and I moved in together, she'll kill me for saying this, so I probably shouldn't say this, but she had this piece of art that was massive. It looked like it was bleeding. It had all this gory aesthetic. I had to tell her, I'm like, I'm sorry, I know you've had this for a long time and you collected this piece, but it evokes the wrong emotion in me that I don't want to have when I see it every single day. And she agreed, and thankfully, We both love landscapes and oil paintings, and like there are so many other pieces we got that we both love. Sometimes you have to have the tough conversation. Probably even trickier than getting on the same page when it comes to design is getting on the same page when it comes to budgeting. It's actually funny to me, it's a superpower that Zooey has. If I show her 20 things, 20 items, doesn't matter what it is, wallpaper, hardware, she will somehow pick the most expensive thing. I don't know why, it's a talent. But we have to be careful when we're working together to do a renovation, you also have to work together on the budget. Sometimes I have found that one or the other in the couple will want to spend endlessly, whereas the other person is really focused on saving and making sure we're not overspending. These are both very important things. You want to get what you want to get, but you got to make sure you're making responsible decisions. Most items that you would purchase for a house, you can also find a more modest version of that without sacrificing the aesthetic. So there's a lot of real good deals that you can find, replicas of even vintage pieces that you may really like. So you don't have to blow the budget. If there's a specific room that is really important to your spouse, well then, okay, maybe you invest in the items in that room a little bit more, but only if you can find another space where you can save a little bit by paring down that spending. Everybody needs to have their own zone where they can recharge, where they can get away from their spouse, their family, and just relax. And depending on how much square footage you have, sometimes that is in a guest house, or maybe you have an area in the backyard that you really love. Growing up, Drew, it was the bathroom. He just would lock himself in the bathroom, and that's his quiet place. What are you doing in there? Too many questions. But for me, it's my office, and Zooey has her own office, and they're separated enough so we have our own area, we can play music, we can do whatever we want, but at the same time, it has everything I need to make me feel comfortable. So I do think it's important for everybody to think about their home and what is the space in their home that can be their retreat. That's something that you also need to agree on because it shouldn't be the same place. Biggest thing is you love your partner, you love your friend, your roommate, whoever you live with. You want to make sure that you have a great relationship living together. So just take the time up front to think through the whole process, and it'll be better for you down the road. If you leave things too late, then it can create a clash, and that's not good for anybody. If this was helpful, then I hope you name your first child after me. If you're not going to have a child, then name a puppy or a goldfish after me.